Hello. How is everybody? Hi, welcome to Awakenings Within. Who's joining us today? Just put up a hi. So hi, Bob. Hi, Suzanne. How are you?
Hello. Doing well.
Well, yay. I've got co-host back.
It's a full house.
Yeah.
But, I think Suzanne's kind of wishing she was doing this live from Colorado. See,
There was really no reason to come back except for this.
oh, there you go.
I keep
See, we
thinking,
could if
great.
you were there, then we'd had a theme because we got Sandy's sort of other world background. I have my Colorado Aspens, and then you could have been live on a mountain. You could have been really, really there.
On location.
We're in pseudo fake worlds, and you could have had been the authentic, real deal.
Oh goodness!
So
vacations are good.
Nobody's saying hi. I'm shocked. I don't know. Hi, welcome. If you're here, put a top fan badge up. So I'm really excited about our guest tonight.
Been the authentic, real deal.
Somebody's got their thing on.
Oh goodness!
Well, the social media world's been slow.
So, what's been slow?
The social media world. I've noticed that just even on my Facebook page, it's just comments are down. I think people are just kind of summering, whatever that
There's
is.
Larry.
See, there's Larry. Hi, Larry. Yeah. July is vacation time.
And it's also the dog days of summer where, like right now, it is so hot here and I just feel so drained. It's like, oh my gosh. And then you think, we were just talking how we're getting kind of geared up in our minds about fall coming. So it's kind of,
why are we talking about fall?
Because this is like the February of winter of summer. It just kind of gets like,
well, I was on the phone today with some guys from ESPN because fall's a big deal for me because I'm a passionate football fan. And there's a lot of anxiety going on right now, whether there's even going to be a football season. And, as they were telling me, no one knows anything different. They've never been in this kind of environment before. So everybody's moving ahead as though it's all going to be normal, even though everyone knows it's not normal, but they don't know what to do. It's like, they're so outside their comfort zone. So everybody's sort of pretending that everything's normal, even though it's not.
Yeah.
Well, it really didn't change the fact that we're paying Mahomes
$500 million.
An unprecedented, what did we say? $100 and some a minute.
$96, something like that. Yeah. So So baseball season did start. Sorry, I'm a baseball fan over football, so it started today.
I didn't know that.
So happy.
Okay, we forgive you.
Do they have fans there? I mean, are there like every 10 seats or what's going on?
They're not letting them have fans. Something like that.
You imagine, if you know anything about the world of athletics, these are men with major egos, you know what I mean? Who love the roar of the crowd and the enthusiasm of the masses, and they play better when the crowd's crazy, and having to play this event with no fans. I mean, it's eerie. It's like, okay, it's like going through the motions,
Yeah. So
go ahead.
So I have a question, Suzanne. When you were in Colorado, did you get some like quiet time to like reflect?
Yes.
Or
a lot of
anything.
Mountain, lots. We took a few hikes and just up very high at Crested Butte, and like I said, I had that moment with the aspen leaves shimmering. It's like, that's just a gift of God right there. I just think being in the mountains, they're so ominous. can't ever really get it wrapped around my head that they've been looking like that for thousands of years,
Yeah.
and that people, the Indian tribes, were walking around and on their horsebacks in the same place I was hiking,
Yeah.
doing, living. So, yeah, I mean, I've been going there since I was a little girl, so I do find it very spiritual.
Oh, nice.
More spiritual than Johnson County for some reason.
Well, maybe. What about you, Bob? Any spiritual epiphanies this week, I guess you'd say?
Spiritual epiphanies? No, I haven't had any spiritual epiphanies. I've been, like I said, I've been dealing with the fact that football is just, that's,
I think football's as spiritual for some people.
it is. Well, see, you got to remember, I grew up in Wisconsin, right? And in Wisconsin, we have a unique situation where we have the Green Bay Packers, which are not owned by an owner; they're owned by the fans. So it's like you grow up and it's sort of in your blood, and everybody's green and gold. I mean, it's just a way of life. It's Wisconsin and Packers. Right. So it's like I don't even know what to do now. It's like there might not be football or something.
Do you have a cheese hat?
I do. I could pull it out if I want to embarrass myself.
Well, St. Louis is like that about their hockey and baseball teams, though it's not known by them, but we're all about it. But anyway, well, I did kind of a moving thing. Oh, Frankie says hi. Hi, Frankie. Thanks for joining us. I don't know, going through all my old things, have you ever done that and reflected like through time? And of course I have all the artifacts of my grandparents and parents. So, my dad brought over a bed that was a bed I grew up sleeping on. And then my mother had it, and then my mother's furniture, and then it was like, and my mother's passed. So it kind of brought all that, all the past to present, and definitely, dealing with the memories of all that at the same time as moving is upheaving your whole household, and then like going through all your things, and funny, I have two little bins that I keep little artifacts of, of all of the people and stuff, and I have a cuckoo clock and stuff like that, and it's like it reminds you who you are, kind of like how you were formed, or those memories that formed you and where you're at, and
nice.
Some spiritual things and some prayers that they probably prayed for me, and kind of wish they were here to continue that about right now, like I could really use some ancestor prayers about right now. So, I mean, there's strength in that, and your grandparents that prayed and their parents. And, I don't know if, I'm a genealogy nut. So I think about generations back, 33 to 40 generations back. I even think about, so it's a little crazy, but anyway, I'm so excited about our guest tonight. She was a Facebook friend of mine. Not sure how, but she shared her story through Messenger. She kind of sent out her story to some friends on there. Her son produced it, put it on YouTube. And I'm a person that likes stories about people visiting other places, and including heaven. So I have quite a few books on it, and I watched her story, and I was very moved, and I just can't wait for her to share her experience. Her name is Teresa Sears, and she's from Virginia, and so I'm going to add her in now, and
suddenly Teresa appears.
There she is. Hello.
Back from heaven.
So, hi, how are you?
I am blessed.
Good. So we are so interested in hearing your story, And so if you would just start out and share with us your experience and what happened, and then we'll ask some questions. So go ahead.
Okay, yes. At the age of 33, I became pregnant. I was in a relationship with a guy who was on drugs. I knew I was pregnant. I kept going to the store and checking the pregnancy test, but I couldn't figure out how I was pregnant because I would continue to, get my menstrual. So one day I was in so much pain that I ended up in the bathroom, and I was just laying on the floor, and I was, um, throwing everything up, and then also um, the urine and feces. They say that this is what happens before you pass away. And then the next thing I knew, my feet were getting cold, my fingers were getting cold, and I knew I was dying. And at that moment, this black figure with an evil face, with a big cloak, was coming towards me on the left side. And so I called on Jesus. I said, Jesus, forgive me of all my sins and throw me in the sea of forgetfulness, never to remember it again. And in that moment, I was in a dark tunnel. And then at the end, I heard singing. It was really, really loud, really loud. And in that moment, I knew that I was in heaven. And in front of me was this beautiful gold gate with beautiful jewels. I looked to the right to see where the singing was coming from, and there looked like people with glowing faces dressed in gold robes singing praises to the Lord. So me being curious, I walked closer, and I was walking on the streets of gold, it looked like. And this older woman, she was beautiful though, white hair just glowing. She stepped out from the crowd, and she called my name, and she said, Teresa, everything's gonna be all right. And then a younger gentleman, he had blonde hair, he was good looking, and he said to me, Teresa, tell that person to go get Pedialyte. Well, the next thing I knew, I was back in my body, and my boyfriend was in the bathroom, and I told him to go get Pedialyte. So he came back, and he gave me the Pedialyte, and as soon as I drank the Pedialyte, I could feel my organs come back to life. And then a few days later, my son and my boyfriend were in the living room, and I told them that there was something wrong, that I had pain in my stomach and everything like that, and I needed to go to the hospital. Well, I ended up in the hospital. The doctors ran a test, and the one that came back said that I was pregnant. And I looked at my boyfriend, and I was so excited, and then the other doctor looked at me and said, Teresa, you've lost a lot of blood. The baby busted your tube, and we're going to have to rush you into the hospital. So I end up going into surgery, and then I was in the hospital for a whole week because I had lost a lot of blood. And then I end up, being back home, and I laid on the couch for a whole week because at the time I was in the hospital, my boyfriend at the time he was just cussing me out. He was saying he didn't want the baby or anything like that. And I was hurt. So then he looked at me and he said, Teresa, he said, what happened? You look like a ghost. And so I told him that I went to heaven, And then I didn't have anything to do with him, so I end up leaving the house, and then people just started like coming up to me and saying, my eyes, like I was like from like another planet.
Wow. Wow. So Suzanne, I know you had a question for her about that to start.
Well, I think the first question I'd ask you is like, with such a amazing experience, and you lived through it, and it's been a few years, right, Teresa? Not that that's relevant, but it's been a while that you have lived now on the other side of that experience. So I was wondering what it was that you felt like had changed in your life after having that experience, or has anything changed?
So after that experience, I mean, it scared the bejesus out of me. You know, it gave me a wake-up call to try to live my life better. It also confirmed that my God is real. He is full of love. He's full of mercy. He's full of grace. The angels are real. Heaven is real, and definitely the devil and hell.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
So
So
I'm kind of curious, Teresa, about your background. Like, did you grow up in a religious home? What's your story before this event happened?
Okay, so I actually grew up in a dysfunctional family. And my mom's friend would like come by and like take me to church. I actually got saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Ghost at the age of 13.
Okay. And where was this? Was this you live in Virginia now?
Oh yes, I was practically raised in Virginia off and on.
Okay.
good.
So you had some context. The reason I'm trying to piece it together is that you would have some context and understanding of what was happening to you because of your Judeo-Christian background.
Well, yes, I actually went to a Pentecostal holiness church, and
Okay.
so at that age, at the age of 13, I started seeing in the spiritual realm, and at that time I really didn't know how. I mean, evil was coming. I would see evil stuff. You know what I mean? And I didn't
Okay.
know, how to call on the name of Jesus to get the presence away from me that was not of God.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're someone who has a, what do they call that? Anyway, I can't think of the big word, but I mean, you've had all your life that you can remember a sense of discernment about spiritual things. In other
Yes,
words, you felt spiritual entities, or you were aware of the presence of spiritual beings. Can you remember when that started?
That actually started at the age of 13.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
But you mentioned the fact that it was the dark side of the equation that you were keenly aware of. Or was it
yes.
both sides?
Yes, it was definitely the dark side, because I mean, I would see figures. I would see like evil hands coming at me, and like snakes, and you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I was just a baby in Christ. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I could see like in the spiritual realm, but it was more so at that time, more so of evil. Like I had many sleepless nights, where the covers would be pulled off me. You know what I mean? And
The reason I'm asking is I have another friend who lives in Florida who was like you and had a disposition towards seeing spiritual entities, but she didn't grow up in a Judeo-Christian context, so she didn't understand what was going on, and she ended up, everybody thought she was just weird, You know, because she wasn't in a context or anybody was able to interpret what was going on. And so she ended up in the mental hospital and a lot of other things because people thought she was crazy.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Right. Because they didn't have a context for, you know, and she didn't become a Christian until she was in her 20s. And then it all started making sense what the darkness was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can actually relate to that. So
Well, yeah.
we had some things like that as well. So
Mm.
really, that's why I'm drawn to Teresa too, because her and I have some similar stuff. So Teresa, how many, bringing this story to present now, I'm sure you've told the story before. So, you know, now making a video about it and everything, what prompted you to do that?
Well, there's a lot of people hurting out there, and I mean, the world is crazy. I mean, think about it, COVID-19 and everything like that. You know, I mean, I just left I'm married, guys, and I just left a abusive situation. And if I had stayed in there, if it wasn't for the grace and mercy of God, if I had stayed in there, I would have died. Because on top of that, I caught COVID-19 as well.
Oh.
But I stood on Psalms 91, and you know, everything's true what they said. I caught it like in the beginning because my significant other, took on a second job at Walmart. And in the beginning, I had the coughing, the burning in the ears, the burning in the throat. Towards the middle, I had burning in my stomach for 2 weeks. And I was in and out of, my breathing was in and out. The hardest part was staying hydrated. And my feces was a different color as well. You know, my fever would go up and down and everything like that. I just constantly felt hot and cold chills. Constantly.
So did you get tested or?
No.
No.
But my significant other did. He ended up you know, seeing a doctor and everything like that, and so he was tested positive, and so I mean, basically,
Wow.
yeah.
So-
My son was afraid that I was going to die because I mean, you know, the news and everybody's going crazy. You know, I mean, you know, people are dying left and right. You know what I mean? And the thing is that I stood on Psalms 91. Nobody back in Virginia, my family, my friends, nobody caught COVID-19.
Wow.
So, you know, I mean, the world needs to hear that, you know, God loves them, and you know, and He judges us on our hearts. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So when you were there, you were saying that the music was loud. What kind of? I'm just curious. You know, what did you hear? I mean, was it a certain song, or were they all in unison? I mean, I'm curious.
Well, I have no idea why I was like, okay, so I felt peace and love and everything like that. There was no pain, you know, but I don't understand why I think I saw them, you know, me saying like, be quiet because you're too loud. You know what I mean?
You guys are praising too loud. It's too loud over here.
So I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm in heaven. Like, you know, I shouldn't be saying this. You know what I mean? But I mean, you know, I don't understand, you know?
But that's a human response, really. I mean, you're like, hey, that's loud. What is going on? Wow.
Did you see anybody you recognized?
No, not at all. No,
That's
not at all.
a common thing with people that have had those experiences is they end up connecting with somebody that's either family or friend. You know
Well,
what I mean?
Teresa, though, you didn't go past a certain point, right? So you
No.
stayed outside of the gate, right? You weren't in.
No,
right?
I was outside the gate. I don't even know why I didn't even go inside the gate. I don't even know why. I mean, I question to this day, you know, why I didn't, you know, I would say they were angels, you know what I mean? Because I didn't recognize one person, you know, from my from my life or anything like that.
Right.
Like I would question, like, well, okay, why didn't they just say, hey, Teresa, we're going to send you back and this is your mission, tell the people this. And I don't know. I have no idea.
Right. So you didn't get the prompting of that or anything. You just, it was so quick for you.
Yes.
And I've
yes,
heard some stories of people that they don't want to come back. That, they said, no, you need to go back and do this. And they go, oh no, let me just stay.
Right.
I've heard that too. So, yeah. Teresa, you had mentioned that you were in a relationship then, a bad one, and now you're in a new relationship, and you got out of that bad one. Do you think that was part of the fallout of that experience, that you were able to move on from that?
So by me having that experience, no. It just confirmed that I was in with the wrong guy.
Mm-hmm.
And why would I want to experience pain, evil, and death on top of that? I mean, I don't want to see, I would say I thought it was like the death spirit, because Jesus said that he took the keys of hell, death, and the grave. You know what I mean? But I would say that was a demon, and so I would not want to experience anything like that. No.
So because of that experience, you actually had the strength, because you knew who was on your side, to walk away from that. That's powerful in itself, because a lot of women cannot walk away from relationships, whether they're physically abusive or mentally or anything. So that was a great, powerful change for you.
Well, and also, we as humans, we are created in God's image. So He gave us a consciousness to know what's right and to know what's wrong. We also have the gut feeling, which is also called our intuition. That gut feeling that says there's something wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And us is and sometimes you can be discerning about things, but not maybe of personal relationships sometimes. I mean, I have to bring that to center, because I personally have discernment about other things, but maybe a personal relationship, love interest sometimes is not as strong of a discernment, right? I mean, I feel like if the good and evil, if you're trying to get deceived, sometimes you're getting deceived in that manner, right? That's just me throwing that out there. Sometimes those people come in your path not to distract you from what your path is. Well,
I got a question, since we're talking about a female from the female side, but I'm curious, in hindsight, now that you say that, do you look back and see the fact that there actually were warning signals?
Oh, me?
Well, any of you. I mean, you're all talking about abusive relationships, and Sandy mentioned the fact that she doesn't have discernment, and I'm not challenging that. I'm trying to dig here a little bit, because
sometimes
because is it the fact that you actually didn't discern it? Or in hindsight, do you go back and go, oh my gosh, actually, I did see this red flag, and I went. It's like going through a red light. I actually went through. So it's like you did discern it. It just, you didn't.
Right.
You think you can fix it, though. You think you can overcome it, or
well, you did discern it. It's just that you didn't handle what you knew right.
You did, right.
Got it. Yeah.
Right.
Well, the reason I'm asking is it's weird that you don't suddenly become undiscerning.
Right.
You know what I mean? Either you're a discerning person or you're not a discerning.
Right. That's true. Yeah. Maybe discernment is not the right term. That's
well, true. No, I was just digging, because I was trying to get around what you were saying, because I'm going, well, wait a minute here. Yes. Now that makes more sense to me.
Not recognizing
that's my analytical brain going here,
not recognizing red flags or
Yeah.
dismissing the red flags. Sometimes you recognize them, you just dismiss them because
Right.
you're still not whole, and not, in that love area.
Right.
You're still trying to get your love tank filled. I think that you dismiss that just to get that filled.
Well, emotions are kind of like putting your foot on the gas pedal.
Yeah.
Pretty soon you're just zooming past all those red flags. It's like,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask Teresa a question that I just thought of. Have you met other women or men and women that have had experiences similar, going back or in or out or near? And have you been able to share about this with other people and heard their stories personally, or are you just kind of right now venturing out and maybe that will start occurring for you?
So I haven't personally met anybody that actually died and went to heaven. My mom, when she was little, she said that she walked with Jesus and she had experiences with angels. She also told me that, from the time that I was born, and I can see it now, the devil has been out to destroy me.
Right.
I mean, just little old me, you know what I mean? Because she told me that the doctor said that, when I was in her womb, that she had a cyst, and the doctor told her to abort me. And because the doctor said that the cyst was going to grow a lot faster and kill me.
Huh.
And kill her too, but she refused to.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, I think this kind of story, the reason I wanted to bring you on is we talk about spiritual awakenings, and we talk about and I just want more people to understand the spiritual world, and that there is one, and and how I would like them to try to learn how to seek after their spiritual path, and in fact, today, our, my devotion for today, July 16th, is we must live outside of this world if we are to be effective in this world. So living outside of this world is what? I mean, what do you think, Bob? What does that say to you?
well, I posted something today on my Facebook page because it's interesting, because even though people of faith live with the concept of eternity sort of ever present in their theology, they don't live their lives as though they're living in light of eternity. In other words, the concept that I'm an eternal creature, and that decisions and choices that I'm making now in my life have eternal ramifications, right? It's like we get so caught up in the material world, the world of status and stuff and things and all that, and so and I look, as you look at, being that I like anthropology and a lot of that stuff, and I'm still involved in Africa, you see people there far more spiritual in their the way they live. And it's because they just don't have a lot of stuff. And sometimes I wonder, with all of our stuff, right, and all of our universities and all of our knowledge and all of our information and all of our data, you know what I mean? It's like our soul gets so programmed with all this stuff, right? But our spirit, which is eternal, somehow doesn't get the same sort of attention.
Right. We're
And
distracted.
it's like we're out of balance. You know what I mean? It's like humanity's way out of balance, and then what happens is you have this COVID situation, and suddenly that material world is completely turned upside down, right? There's complete chaos. All the things that we feel make us safe and secure are suddenly get pulled away from us. And then people start thinking spiritually again.
Yeah.
And it's like it feels like to me there's always this tug of war in life between the two realms.
So Teresa, have you studied any scriptures in the Bible about other people visiting heaven, or do you stand on any of those scriptures that I looked up some before we got on here? You know, there's some in Genesis and there's some in Revelation. I thought that was funny. I was like, at the beginning and at the end. But that's happened with other prophets, you know, visions and things. But I mean, actually going there, you know, I was looking for a story in the Bible, and can you think of one of what prophet? Huh?
Enoch.
Enoch and Elijah.
Yeah. Enoch and Elijah.
Yeah. So
Well, what did, you know, Susan brought up this issue about people that die and don't want to come back. And part of the reason for that is that if you think about who we are, what we're all looking at in terms of, we're all on a screen right now looking at a body, right? But that body in many ways is like our vehicle. It's like our car, right? Because the essence of who we are is our spirit and our soul, right?
yeah.
Well, our bodies, you know, they go through hell and back, you know, and they're falling apart and they have all, right? And then you get released from that, right? It's like your you know, car that's all beat up and got 100,000 miles on it and is wore out, and then suddenly you're free from that and you're in this place where there is no pain, right? You're not weary. You know, your soul isn't exhausted. You know what I mean? You're not, there's not sorrow and pain and all that, right? Like, who would want to come back?
It's like being in Colorado and not wanting to come back to Kansas.
Did you come back through a tunnel when you came back, or was it just like a quick second or something?
It was just quick.
Okay.
Yeah. It was next thing I know, I was in my body, you know.
Wow. And how long do you think that took? I mean, how long were you unconscious or whatever? Do you know? Or was your boyfriend able to ask or tell you? Or
well, I would probably say maybe in 15 minutes, half an hour, or something like that. You know, just more so me being in heaven, I was just more so curious of, you know, who are these people standing in the gate, you know what I mean? Like, you know.
But you definitely knew that that's where you were at once you got there, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Like, okay.
Well, one of the common things that you hear about the people that have died is the fact that things like color and sound are way more vivid.
Oh,
right.
Yes.
Because you're again, we're seeing through our physical bodies with our physical eyes, which have limitations. You get, you know, you get free from your car, you know, your 100,000 mile car, and you go to heaven, and suddenly you're seeing things in their natural essence, right? And everything's brighter and more beautiful. That's what I hear all the time. I've had 3 or 4 different people that I've talked to, and they all said the same thing. Everything was just so vivid.
Yes. Beautiful and big.
So, Therese, did you feel like you had, so you saw the dark figure. So do you feel like you had a choice to go with him or the other choice? I mean, do you felt like you were making a choice? I mean, is that why you said the prayer real quick? Or because if you knew you were a Christian, I mean, I don't know.
Well,
What's your question?
That is a good question. If you see a dark figure coming after you, you know what I mean, with evil face, you know you're going to hell. I mean, you sense that. You know what I mean? So
okay. So you felt like you were going to hell. Okay.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Oh yes.
Oh, okay. That's why I asked it, because I was like, I wonder if if you're just given that choice at the last minute, you know. So, okay.
Well, I sometimes wonder, if you think about it, when it's dark, right, and you turn on the light, it's kind of painful. And it talks about how when the light comes on, the darkness flees, right? And
Mhm.
I've always wondered about that. And on the other side, it's like we talk about heaven and hell and light and dark, but I just think the darkness can't live in the light. Like the light repels it, or it flees away from it because it doesn't want to exist there. And
Well,
I
when
think
that figure was coming after me, it was in darkness.
yeah,
Like it was yes, it was in darkness, but his face was like green and like
Mhm.
bunched up. It was very evil.
yeah.
Wow. So you think that just you saying the name of Jesus is what got you to the light, or I mean, just curious what you think.
Well, well, not just saying Jesus, asking Jesus to forgive me of all my sins and throw them in the sea of forgetfulness, never to be remembered again.
Right. So had you said that prayer before, or was that the first time you'd ever said it, or that exactly?
That was not. No, that was not the first time I said it. Being a Christian, every day I would say that prayer. I would also say because the Lord God says if we don't know how to pray, we can pray, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our debts as we forgive our debtors, and lead us not in temptation, but deliver us from all evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. Yeah. So that was something that at the time you were doing every day, or?
I would pray, but I didn't feel worthy because I was living in sin. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay. I was kind of just getting there to ask if that's what you were feeling. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I think we overcomplicate that, right? I think sometimes we just need to ask for forgiveness, and we kind of, and like you said, the worthy piece, I think is something that Christians, as Christians, we do can struggle with, everyone,
Right.
So,
Teresa, where you live, I'm sure there are other women that have problems in relationships. I mean, it's everywhere. But do you think that your empowerment that you've reached from having this happen to you, and now that you're older and gone on to new relationships that are more successful, is there any way that you would ever think about helping women, maybe in a Christian setting, or just having groups that just share about this, not dying and coming back, but just empowerment? That I'm a life coach for women, and I help women get empowered. So I'm always thinking about, how do we empower women? Usually it's a testimony, somebody that you look at and you think, oh, that person did it, and they are happy, and they look like the world is going okay for them. Maybe I'll listen to them or follow the way they walk. So have you ever thought about that, or are there opportunities that you've seen?
Oh yeah. I feel like because I walked away from such a dangerous situation that my story needs to be heard, especially to the female generation. I also thought, that I was going to write a book. I never thought in a million years I would be giving my story, on YouTube and, live with you guys.
Well, this is the beginning. Obviously, the door opened for you. So,
well, one of the things that, again, getting back to what we were talking about earlier in terms of our Western worldviews, you get outside of here, like into an African context, and the concept of evil isn't theoretical. Here in the Western world, evil's sort of, well, what's happened is between Hollywood and sort of animatedness, evil's become a sort of a characterization. You know what I mean? We sort of see it as a, sort of a euphemism or some sort of, it's symbolic, where if you get outside of our culture, you get into, in my world, and now it's very real. Like there are very real evil spiritual entities that afflict people, right? So the reason I'm fascinated somewhat about your story is that it sort of brings to light the reality that evil isn't just a figment of our imagination. It's just not a philosophical concept. It's there's actual beings who are evil, whose intent is to sow evil, who want to destroy us, who want to destroy our lives, who want to inflict pain and misery on our lives.
Yeah. I mean, and I think people do get comfortable with thinking about there's only good, right? They just want to be in the Pollyanna world of everything's good, everything's heaven, everything's that. And they don't think about the evil part of the other side. And they don't know that they're even being affected by that sometimes. That's the scary.
Well, when we think of evil, we think Hitler, we think Charles Manson, it's like most people, the concept of evil is a caricature, you know what I mean? And if you ask people what the devil looks like, he's always got orange skin and horns and laser, beam eyes. And, you know what I mean? There's all of these caricatures, and somehow sometimes we lose sight of the fact this is actually a real thing. Like evil is real, it impacts people's lives. And if you I think what was happening in her case is that evil was trying to insert itself into your life, right? It was trying to take over. And fortunately you had enough Judeo-Christian theology and to be able to push it back. But there's a lot of people out there that don't have that. And I've seen many situations where that evil comes in and they don't understand what it is.
Right.
And it overwhelms the situation and it just takes over, because the thing about evil is that its intent is to enslave, right? It's always about enslaving you. So it's interesting. Wow. I imagine that's quite a wake up call. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, it's a very real world, the spiritual world.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
isn't there a book out there, something like called Scared Straight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Running into an evil dark figure with a green face. You know what I mean? That wants to take you out would scare you straight.
Yeah. That was I think that was actually called a show.
So yeah, I think us talking about the good and evil, I would like us to have someone on as well to kind of talk about the spiritual realms as well. Suzanne, have you ever had any experience,
I have. I think I'd say I'm lucky, but maybe I'm not. I haven't. I haven't been close to death like that. I mean, I did have a near fatal car accident, but I don't remember any part of going. I kind of feel envious. I mean, it would be nice to have something. I have felt spiritual in the Smoky Mountains, riding through them and realizing, I mean, they overcame me. And that was one of the few times I actually thought there is something a lot more powerful going on here than my little world.
Yeah.
But no demons or angels.
Well, I talked with Teresa for a long time the other day. Her and I talked, and we had a lot in common. After I was saved at 7, I saw the spiritual realm really quickly. After I saw Jesus, I saw the demons. So, but I didn't know how to get rid of them either. I didn't know how all I needed to say was his name. So, acknowledge him in my heart or whatever. I didn't have enough. I was only 7, so I didn't know. So there are people that get in that realm, and I admittedly slept with the light on until I was 16 because I didn't understand it, and I didn't have anyone to teach me. I didn't have anyone to tell me that that's what was going on. I just thought I was having nightmares. I thought they were nightmares, but they were actual. I realize that now. So I totally get that. And I think when you see the spiritual realm like that, it is easier to, I'm drawn to those stories obviously now because of that, and then I think I feel lucky that I have a childlike faith because of it, because I saw it so early on, that I saw the good and evil, not just the good. I didn't understand it, but I now at this age realize, very quickly, I have some discernment, between the good and evil in people and that kind of thing. But, everybody has a choice. We have a choice now. To see the spiritual realm, it gives you another dimension of how you can pray and what you need to do. It isn't just, okay, now I can see it. Well, now you know what to do with it. It's lesson. You can actually, pray against particular spirits then if you start having better discernment over those things. I mean, what do you think, Rob?
Yeah, for me, I want to, how do I want to say this? It's like, we're talking about evil in sort of the extreme sense, the green faced evil, dark figures, the scary demons, the Hitlers and all that. But then there's a subtle evil, a more subtle form of evil. And I think the good and evil battles that we struggle with day in and day out aren't on the periphery as much. I mean, what's fascinating about Teresa's situation is an extreme case in a sense, right? I mean, the 7 billion people on the earth, how many have had an experience like that? She'd probably be in the less than the 1% of the 1%. You know what I mean? But that reality of those two forces of light and dark, good and evil, they exist every day, but they're more subtle. And so one of the things I'm always trying to do in my life is trying to figure out, okay, what is this? And so the thing that has helped me is, in Paul in his epistles, he talks about the fruits of the Spirit. In other words, there's certain characteristics that indicate, so if you're not discerning and you just can see certain traits, then well, this is God. And as I've sort of reduced it down to a very simple sort of equation, is when it's self-centered, it's evil, and when it's love, it's good, right? In other words, when it's about me and my ego and my you know what I mean, that leans towards the evil side of things. But when it's good and it's me caring about other people, well, then that's good. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's good.
I mean, if you think about it, the battle of good and evil is an everyday battle.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I mean, there's
from choosing what you're going to have for breakfast
here, but yesterday I was coming through an intersection, and I got a lady who basically comes flying through the intersection, speeding, and then gives me the middle finger, right in my face, as I almost T-bone her because she's right, and she's mad, and so I have a moment there, and how do I react? You know what I mean?
What was your temperance, right?
Right. How do I react to this?
And
You
how
know,
did you?
I smiled at her.
I go, sorry.
I said, "Have a good day."
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
we're confronted with it day in and day out. I mean, I'm out, the last few weeks been out doing a lot of driving, and I mean, I'm just seeing some really self-centeredness in people. People not making decisions, not caring about anyone else in the world. It's like it's all about me, and I can care. It's like they were blowing off fireworks the other night at 11 o'clock at night. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And like it's like this is 2 days ago, and I'm thinking, see,
wow.
somebody is only interested in themselves and them having fun, not the fact that all these people around here are working, they're sound asleep, and they're trying to sleep because they got to get up in the morning and go to work, and they don't care. You know what I mean?
Right. So
So
Teresa,
that's what I'm saying. There's some real practical things we can all look at our lives and go, okay, am I thinking about others today and my decisions?
yeah.
Yeah.
So Teresa, I mean, what's your message at this? I know you said it, but if you reiterate it again on what you want to do with sharing your story, is you want people to know what?
That God is real, and that he loves he loves everybody. You know what I mean? And he judges us on our heart. You know.
That's good. That's good. That's good stuff. So okay. So we have 3 minutes, and I know we like to give our followers something positive to carry through. So exactly what Teresa's saying, where do you see God in your life? Try to find those places how do you recognize God in your life? If we're going to talk about, God is real and he loves us, where are you seeing that? And
Mhm.
how are you acknowledging that? I mean, that's
Yeah.
just a challenge for
Mhm.
us to look at. Where do you see him? Like, Suzanne's talking about, she saw, definitely the mountains is some place she meets him at, apparently, right? And
Yeah, and I also have the gratitude practice daily of recording my gratitude, and that's always very powerful. And also have been kind of moving into looking for the miracles, because the miracles are not just like happening just ever so often; they happen all the time. And Teresa's experience was a miracle. But we don't have those kind of things all the time. Thank goodness. So, but the little miracles of, seeing the aspen leaves shimmering and things like that, if you're looking for them, I think that's where I can find spiritual peace.
right.
Because I know they're there. I just have to, align myself and see them.
So, Bob, how do you do it? How do you find God? What
He
mode?
drives all over the town. Where are you?
He picks him up.
Well, I'm sort of like Suzanne, though. I mean, for me, the place that I gotta go is the mountains. I mean, there's just something about being in the mountains, but there's no mountains around here, so it's like I sort of have to retreat in, and just get quiet and shut everything out. And I think I find him in the stillness.
Right.
I think they're just life. I mean, there's so much coming at all of us, and sometimes you just got to get away from it all and just get quiet. And then in that place is when I start hearing them. I start feeling those little nudges.
I go to the beach, if that makes
There
sense.
we go. That's good. Sandy.
Beach. My place is the beach. I mean, I go and because I'm named after it. So so I have to go there. And really, the waves or sound like a voice to me, sound like a song to me. So, I mean, it does something to my spirit, and I can hear God as in prayer so much louder or easier. I'm not sure, but that's where him and I have appointments. I'm like, are you keeping your appointment? I need to see you today. So anyway, what about you, Teresa? Where do you go to hear his voice? And
Oh my gosh, I hear him all the time. When I left that darkness behind, I heard him speak in a vision. I saw him saying, because you left this situation, I'm moving mountains for you. And since I've been in Virginia, I'm seeing it. Also, I want to let everyone know that my son has a YouTube channel. His name is Cerandon. It's spelled Cerandon. And you can go over there and check out my video and check out his videos.
Yeah, please do. Cerandon. I love that name. That's a great name.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, check out her YouTube videos or her son's and the video of her story and share it. I'm going to also put the link to her YouTube video on our site here. So, yeah, I'd like to have a discussion. We didn't really talk with our audience today, but, if they have any stories, we would love to hear them share, spiritual good and evil stories. I would definitely like us to do that. Because I think people, they think it's in the movies, but it's not. It's not just in the movies. It's something, I know our worldview can be limited sometimes. I think it narrowed, I guess you would say. Wouldn't you say, Bob, like people just kind of stay in they stay in a tunnel vision of what they want to create as their world. And so they don't see other things outside of it,
They like familiar.
Yeah. We like familiar. Yeah. So anyway, thank you, Teresa, so much for sharing your story with us. I really appreciate it. We really appreciate it. And, and definitely, check her story out again, and please share this. And we appreciate you all. And I hope you guys all have a fantastic week, and you can recognize where God is, in your life, and come back and share that with us. I'd appreciate it. So, all right, you guys all have a good night. Thank you guys.
Good night.
Thank you guys very much. Thank you.
Bye,
Good night.
Teresa.